next. Next on Channel 2 News at 11, a neighborhood crime fighter gunned down in cold-blooded murder, and tonight police may be a step closer to finding his killer. Then they are picking up speed. Wild winds roar back into Southern California.
Also ahead of Channel 2 News, exclusive money, power, he had it all. Then came his devastating fall. Tonight, just days before he reports to prison, a former hockey heavyweight is speaking out. The news begins right now.
This is Channel 2 News at 11 with Ann Martin and Michael Tuck.
Good evening. A new lead in the murder of a neighborhood crime fighter tops our news tonight.
Police are releasing a sketch of the man they say murdered an anti-crime activist. Tonight, new clues in the killing of Pedro Roberto Banegas. He was shot and killed in Reseda in what police have now called an assassination. Sophia Choi is live at the crime scene in Reseda to give us the latest. Sophia.
And it's been 4 days since his murder and still no arrest. Right now, flowers and candles mark the spot where he died, put here by family and friends. This is all they can do. They've tried to help police solve this case, but they simply can't. They don't have the information. So tonight, they're asking you for help. Pedro Banegas loved people and hated crime. As the director of security at this apartment complex, Banegas was strict. As the neighborhood watch block captain, he was vigilant. Police believe his crime-busting efforts may be the motive for his murder, and they say this is the man who did it. This is a composite drawing from several witnesses who saw the suspect kill Banegas. We showed it to several neighbors.
No, I never see that.
Nobody knew him.
Nothing.
But everyone wants him behind bars.
Because not only I care about Mr. Banegas, because I care about the community. And having somebody like that outside the street is kind of dangerous, you know.
Banegas was gunned down as he and his wife left night classes here at Reseda High. Witnesses say this suspect crept along a row of cars, then shot Banegas through his truck window. Banegas and his wife tried to run, but the suspect caught him and shot him 4 more times. A violent killing for a man many say was so kind. Now, if you see anything at all familiar about that composite sketch, please call police. Reporting live from Reseda, Sophia Choi, Channel 2 News.
Thanks so much, Sophia. And friends of Pedro Banegas told us tonight that it was his dream to become a U.S. citizen, and he was taking night classes to make that dream come true.
Another big story tonight, the windy weather hitting all across Southern California. In Ontario, there is no damage reported yet, but gusty winds are rustling through palm trees, and they've been keeping flags stretched tightly all night long. Up the coast, this is what it looks like in Brookdale. That's up in the Santa Cruz Mountains. Strong winds knocked a tree right under the roof of a house. Luckily, nobody inside was hurt. And this is what it looks like from our live Skycam network in Hollywood. Winds are still blowing hard right now. Steve Rambo joins us to tell us what we can expect first thing in the morning. Steve.
We're going to see winds picking up in speed early in the morning. Now, we've already got some gusting winds up near Santa Clarita, but elsewhere, all well below advisory speeds. Northwest 13, Burbank, north at 12, Ontario, south at 6 at Santa Ana. But by the morning, those winds will really pick up, particularly below the Cajon Pass and in the Santa Ana Mountains. Northeast winds 50 to 60 miles an hour. That as around the sunrise hour. Other Southland mountains up near 50 miles an hour. Coastal and valley areas 25 to 35 miles an hour. All of this because of 2 pressure systems too close together. I'll show you that a little bit later in the broadcast. Ann?
Good enough, Steve. See you soon. New at 11, singer Janet Jackson says she's being harassed and she has asked a judge to make it stop. Jackson and her boyfriend say a man identified as 30-year-old Ronald Singleton comes to their Malibu home and claims to be Janet Jackson's husband. They want Singleton kept at least 150 yards away. Actor Charlie Sheen went to court today in Malibu to face charges that he attacked a former girlfriend. Sheen pleaded not guilty to 1 count of misdemeanor battery. Also in that courtroom was Sheen's father, actor Martin Sheen, and Brittany Ashland, the woman who accuses the actor of roughing her up at his Agoura Hills home last December.
Her injuries include, but are not limited to, a split lip, which required 7 stitches, injury to her face, neck, and leg, and unconsciousness.
Charlie Sheen is free on $20,000 bond. He was also ordered to stay away from Miss Ashland. Judge Lawrence Mira set a hearing date for March 31st to schedule a trial. Sheen will not have to appear at that hearing. Mike.
Investigators say sparks from a chimney caused tonight's big fire in Mar Vista. Chopper 2 was there up over the scene to see the flames shooting through the roof of one house, quickly spreading to the house right next door. Firefighters say the wood-shake roof made the fire even tougher to fight. While there are no reports of any injuries, the damage is obviously, as you can see here, widespread. In Bell, A bicycle sits there smashed. The 6-year-old boy who was riding it is dead. And tonight, police need help to find the hit-and-run driver who did this. The driver fled the accident scene Saturday night in a late-model gold sedan, possibly a Cadillac. New at 11, downtown Los Angeles, opening arguments begin in Willie Shoemaker's lawsuit against several doctors and Glendora Community Hospital. The famous jockey claims he wasn't given proper care after a car crash, and that caused him, he says, to become a paraplegic. We should point out, Shoemaker was legally drunk when he wrecked his car.
Shell Oil and Dow Chemical have agreed to buy 65 homes near a toxic dump site in Torrance. The houses sit on West 204th Street near 2 abandoned chemical factories. 3 years ago, dozens of families moved out after the EPA found dangerous levels of DDT and other terrible toxic chemicals in their backyards. For the first time since the passage of Proposition 215, a man has been fired for smoking marijuana for a medical problem. Rob Dunaway says he has glaucoma and he smokes marijuana to ease the pain. He was fired from his job as an equipment operator when his bosses found out. Now he's filed a grievance with his union to get his job back. We're on time or you don't pay. That's the new guarantee being offered by the MTA. They're trying to convince more people to ride the bus. So the promise is this: if a scheduled MTA bus is 10 minutes late or worse, riders can ask for a free ticket or get a refund. The trial program begins this Saturday and it runs through the end of April.
A nationwide search is on tonight for 2 men riding in a U-Haul truck who may have the makings of a giant bomb or perhaps just harmless farming materials. Now, this is a police sketch of one of the suspects. They were spotted stopped at a gas station near Fort Worth, Texas. Witnesses say the back of the truck was filled with diesel fuel and fertilizer. Now, that's the same ingredients in the bomb that destroyed the federal building in Oklahoma City. The FBI says the men may just be farmers, but they want to talk to them to make sure. In Atlanta, the FBI is trying to figure out whether religious fanatics were behind last week's bombing of a gay nightclub and the bombing of an abortion clinic last month. Somebody claiming to be a part of a group called the Army of God has sent a letter claiming to be responsible for both of those bombings. The FBI reportedly is also examining a phone call claiming responsibility for Friday's explosion. It was made from somebody claiming to have ties to a group here in Los Angeles, a group called the Sons of the Confederate Klan. 5 people were injured in the nightclub bombing on Friday night. In New York, lights were dimmed tonight at the Empire State Building in memory of the people shot by a gunman last night. 1 person died in the attack. 6 others were wounded. The Palestinian gunman also died after turning the gun on himself. Police say the gunman carried a note accusing the United States of using Israel as a tool against his people.
World Watch tonight, Hong Kong, spectacular pictures taken just moments after a fuel truck exploded on a busy highway. 2 people were hurt, damage from the explosion was widespread, and it took over an hour to put out the flames. The highway was shut down in both directions for several hours.
Another fire, this one in India, killed about 200 people at a religious festival. About 5,000 people were attending that festival when flames raced through sheds and tents. Police say many of these victims were burned beyond recognition. More than 150 people were burned or injured in the rush to escape those fierce flames.
Colorado, new developments in the John Benet Ramsey murder case. The DA's office in Boulder says there have been problems with the local police. Now the DA is looking for a seasoned investigator to work the case. Also, a spokesman for the Ramsey family says the parents believe they top the list of suspects.
Beijing, China bids a final farewell to Prime Minister Deng Xiaoping. More than 10,000 mourners gathered in the city's Great Hall of the People to mourn his passing. Deng's ashes lay in a casket cloaked by the red Communist Party flag. The ashes will be scattered at sea.
Springfield, Illinois, volunteer work crews spent the day scrubbing swastikas and other obscenities off the tomb of Abraham Lincoln. Employees found the historic site desecrated yesterday morning. Workers had to use chemicals and power washers to get the paint off of the granite. And that is World Watch tonight.
A Garden Grove family will soon have its hands full. And how? Take a look at this. That's because Mom gave birth to quadruplets. The 3 boys and 1 girl were born yesterday at Fountain Valley Regional Hospital and Medical Center. Mom, 30-year-old Maura Lomelli, and her children are all doing fine tonight. And as for the hospital, this is the 2nd time in less than a year that quadruplets have been born there.
This delivery went very smoothly. We had a plan all written up. Each of the departments knew exactly what they were supposed to do. And you have to remember, we practiced this back in May of 1996 when we delivered the Vietnamese couple.
Now, here you see the children's grandmother looking in on them. She'll be helping out a lot. The quadruplets will be kept at the hospital for 2 or 3 more weeks. The grandmom, the uncles, the aunts, the cousins, everybody can give a helping hand because they're going to need it.
Hope they don't have plans for a couple of years. Much more news just ahead. All these stories coming up in our very next segment. Coming up next.
Well, you never think you're going to get caught.
A Channel 2 News exclusive. He was one of the richest and most powerful sports figures Southern California has ever known. But when the money ran out, he ran into big-time trouble. Tonight, just days before he reports to prison, Bruce McNall is speaking out.
Then, a preacher caught on tape with a stripper. Tonight, should he be ashamed or was he framed?
Plus, it's the story the whole world is talking about, the cloning of a sheep. Are humans next?
And you saw her eye-popping performance tonight on David Letterman. How does she do that? The tricks of the trade when it comes to a very unusual, stupid human trick. Much more news next.
Tonight on Dave,
We got a great show.
the king of comedy, Bill Cosby, and the queen of pop, Tina Turner. And Wednesday, don't miss Howard Stern.
Last year, one news station worked harder, dug deeper, went the extra mile. Channel 2 News. Winner of more Golden Mike Awards than any other station in Southern California. Including Best Newscast. At Channel 2 News, we're not just committed to bringing you fair, balanced reporting. We're honored.
Now, a Channel 2 News Extra. Former LA Kings owner Bruce McNall in much happier times. Those times are gone now. Now he's on his way to the Gray Bar Hotel. You know, from one of LA's most powerful men in sports to bankruptcy, that's a long fall for a man who is used to being on top. Jim Hill joins us now with his exclusive interview with Bruce McNall. Jim?
Mike and Ann, there is an old saying that a fool and his money soon part. Former Los Angeles Kings owner Bruce McNall was really no one's fool, except maybe for his own. His cravings for fame and glory wound up in the fall of Bruce McNall. From king to con. In a little more than 3 weeks, Bruce McNall, once one of the most powerful and influential men in all of sports, will make one more road trip. This one to the federal penitentiary at Lompoc, where he will begin serving a 70-month prison term for bank and wire fraud. Why do this interview right now when in a few short weeks you will be going to prison?
Well, one of the reasons was that until the sentencing actually took place, the attorneys thought it wouldn't be a wise idea for me to speak in case the government or somebody needed me for as a witness, basically, in something. And for you, Jim, that's the other reason. I made up my mind that if I was going to do any interviews, that I would pick a couple of people that I was close to.
And in that one statement may be the reason why McNall is in so much trouble. A need to be closer to people, a need to be liked. Venice born and Arcadia raised, McNall grew up in a family nearly void of love.
I don't think I was overly happy with just my own personal successes. No matter what I did, I don't think I really felt that good about myself. I kept needing, I think, others to tell me that I was doing the right thing for them. Maybe it was something, again, I was lacking in my parents or something. I don't really know.
He found love in money and power, although McNall says money was little more than a means to an end. His incredible wealth grew to acquire cars, several homes, a film production company, and eventually his pride and joy, the Kings.
He shoots, he scores! Short-handed goal! Wayne Gretzky!
But even in these happiest of times, there was trouble in Camelot as McNall was heavily in debt. His substantial fortune all but gone, McNall lied to several banks in order to get money to pay other debts. It was hockey's version of robbing Peter to pay Paul.
You pleaded guilty to 4 counts of wire fraud, and now you're going to jail.
Actually included bank fraud, too.
Yeah.
Right. It's, you know, in a lot of ways, Jim, the time that I had spent with all this and trying to fix the problems, again, I was faced with something that was a decision that I couldn't make myself. In a way, the government made it for me.
And that statement really caught me by surprise. McNall says in some ways he was an addict. He had to give up the cars, the houses, the jets, all of it, just go completely cold turkey. Tomorrow night on Action News at 6 o'clock, Bruce McNall talks openly about going to prison the second week in March. That's tomorrow at 6.
What a fascinating interview.
Yes, thank you.
It really is. Thanks, Jim. Look forward to it. New at 11, a Florida preacher is in hot water, or maybe it's his body double who's in trouble. Seems someone caught the preacher, Charlie Evans, on home video enjoying himself at a Deltona, Florida strip joint. His excuse to his superiors, it's an imposter trying to destroy his reputation. Now that's a claim that his congregation seems to believe.
Just choose not to believe it.
Did you see it?
Yeah, but I don't believe it. Well, for all anyone can know, it can be an imposter.
His superiors apparently believe him too. They put out a press release supporting him. Evans says, guilty or not, his reputation has been tarnished anyway.
Health Watch tonight, it's the morning after pill that millions of women already have in their medicine cabinet and they don't even know it. Well, now they will know. For the first time, the FDA is approving the use of high doses of birth control pills to end pregnancy in its very early stages. The FDA is recommending 2 to 4 pills be taken up to 3 days after unprotected sex. 6 brands on the market are recommended for this, but there can be side effects such as nausea and vomiting. Check with your doctor.
The Centers for Disease Control now recommends that children under age 2 be tested for lead poisoning. Lead exposure kills brain cells and can lead to mental impairment. The CDC says children living in older homes with lead paint are most at risk. Earlier guidelines suggested testing children under 5, but by then the damage may already have occurred.
Why are some people more prone to allergies or asthma than others? Well, for the first time tonight, there is evidence it could be because of when they're born. Researchers now say people born in the fall have a higher risk of later on having allergies or asthma. That's apparently because fall babies have higher levels of a blood protein linked to allergies. Wouldn't you know it? I was born in the fall.
Worked for me too.
Yeah.
Yep. It's a miracle of science, the successful cloning of an adult sheep. Tonight we have Dolly's debut on videotape. Thank you, Dolly. She is the first adult mammal ever cloned, but can the experiment be duplicated in humans? And would we ever want to go there anyway? Larry Carroll is looking into the debate over cloning, and let's go to him right now. Larry.
Well, Ed, is it really a breakthrough, or is it Pandora's box? Imagine for a moment you are Dolly the sheep, the genetic duplicate of her parent.
Suddenly, nothing traditional is traditional anymore.
You could say she has a mother, but she doesn't have a father. She has grandparents, but just 2.
It is a scientific breakthrough to be sure, but why do it in the first place?
It will help us to bring forward new healthcare products, and it'll help us to study genetic diseases in humans, like, for instance, cystic fibrosis, for which we don't have treatments at the present time.
Doug, your clone. While human cloning is not being seriously discussed, the idea has aroused the sensitivities of medical ethicists, and it frightens them.
We face the prospect of it being used to create a human child, or indeed lots of human children.
Might cloning be used to create perfect athletes, or to create organs simply to be harvested later?
It's not as if you can just store somebody at age 7 with organs that are now just large enough for transplant, stop them from growing, and keep them there in a bottle on the shelf in case you need an organ at age 75.
Or perhaps your life could be better with a clone, kind of like instant replay.
Somebody may have an interest to say, you know, I love myself, but I would love to be able to live my life over again without all the problems I've faced.
Weighty questions that men could spend decades debating, but now it appears they no longer have that much time.
Well, while human cloning is illegal in Great Britain, it is perfectly legal here. There's just no proof that it works on anything but a sheep. What worries scientists and ethicists the most, though, is that those concerns won't stop somebody from trying it anyway before all those bigger questions are answered.